Let's get into some sad but justified in a way of justice being served homosexual news. And let's talk about O'Shea Sibley. So I don't know if y'all remember O'Shea Sibley, but he was this young man who I believe in 2023, he was 28 years old. He was out there voguing by a Brooklyn gas station, and he wound up getting into a confrontation with a group of young people who were shouting racial and anti-gay slurs at the dancer and his friends as they were voguing to a Beyonce song. So this young man by the name of Dmitry Popov, it sounded like he Russian. He was 17 at the time. Now he's 20. And he recently testified at the trial that he was just defending himself when he took a blade and put it up in Sibley back in 2023. So he's saying that he was doing it in self-defense, but the reality was, if the gays was out there, and this is what they normally do, because trust and believe, I was not a boardroom child, but I used to hang out with a lot of the butch and the femme queens out in Brooklyn, and also in the Village, which a friend of mine said the other day, where's all the gays in the Village? He don't be seeing them no more. I said, well, they probably just ran out due to gentrification. So he said the girls wasn't out there in the Village no more, because I remember back in the days when the Village was the Village, we used to go down there and the kids be pumping down the street, doing the Naomi Campbell walk across the room like Naomi Campbell, and then y'all be cat, 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 and doing all other stuff, and they be doing it down the street, minding their business. And of course, you get straight people that get mad because the gays is out here, the black queens is out here just living their life and minding their damn business. And then now you feeling away because you feel like your manhood is being threatened. And so you was defending yourself. So he went and stabbed Sibley to death. And now prosecutors call bullshit on Dimitri's testimony because he said he was defending himself. But prosecutors said that Popov acted out of hate, taunting and jeering at Sibley, then unaliving him when he reacted to the provocations. Because I always think that you can just call people the F word and the N word and all this other stuff, and we just supposed to sit there and take it. But when it comes to the gays, we got mouth on us. We also got hands. Because a lot of times when you a femme queen or a butch queen and you be channeling your femme side in that situation, people will try to test you. And then when you clap back, then you want to sit up out here, oh, I feel like my manhood is being questioned. I'm being pushed up against the wall. So now I got to defend myself. So now I got to take your life because you have the unmitigated gall to come back at me. But bitch, you started it. And people should have a right to defend themselves without having to lose their damn life. So the jury, which began deliberation a week ago, also convicted Popov on, oh, sorry, I forgot, I skipped the part. So the verdict on the first degree manslaughter charge capped a 3-week trial in New York State Supreme Court in Brooklyn. The jury, which began deliberation a week ago, also convicted Popov on second degree menacing, second degree aggravated harassment, and fourth degree criminal possession of a weapon, but acquitted him of a more serious charge of red room as a hate crime, which carries the potential of a life sentence. Now, Brooklyn District Attorney Eric Gonzalez said in a release that it was his hope that as the LGBTQ plus community celebrates the beginning of Pride Month, this verdict will bring O'Shea's family, his friends, and the larger community some measures of solace. Hate has no place in Brooklyn. He also said Sibley's dream was being a dancer and choreographer, and his life was cut short when he was unalived by this defendant who couldn't stand the sight of O'Shea and his friends just being themselves and living their lives openly as Black gay men. So it could have been the fact you hate you're a white dude, because based off the name, you sound Russian. And y'all already know that whole ideology behind Russians and the hatred of homosexuality, especially if you coming from places where Putin cracks down on homosexuality. So when you have that whole ideology in your head, the fact that you don't like Black people and you don't like gay people, and you forgetting that if you're not back in your home country, in New York City, it's a lot different. We are a melting pot of all different cultures, sexual orientations, and everything else in between. We're not we're not like all these other areas where it's just like, if you're gay or if you're Black or whatever, you could be discriminated against. But we do deal with discrimination. But at the end of the day, people come to New York because you can be your true, authentic self. You would hope without judgment, but you get people like this. So now they also said defense attorney Mark Pollard said he will appeal the verdict. Good luck on that. Which was probably bittersweet for both sides, saying we're happy he wasn't guilty of red rum, but disappointed he wasn't acquitted on the rest of the charges. The lawmaker said the client faces a minimum of 8 years in prison on the manslaughter charge and a maximum of 25 years. Now, Popov is scheduled to be sentenced on June 30th. What's funny is that's happening at the end of the month. So in the Pride Month. Now, Sibley and his friends had, for those of you not familiar, stopped at a gas station after a beach outing on July 29, 2023, when they were pumping gas. One of them began dancing, drawing the attention of a nearby group of young men and teenagers. Some of the people in that group began taunting and jeering at the dancing men, some of whom were shirtless and wearing bathing suits. Security camera video played at the trial recorded the encounter. The two groups argued for about 2 minutes, then started to go their separate ways. Sibley's group went back to their car. Most of the other men went back inside the gas station, except for Popov. Now, witnesses testified at trial that Popov shouted insults as he recorded with his phone, which a lot of y'all are fucking dumb because this is what this generation does. Y'all feel like y'all need to film everything for clout, and look at you. It was used against you in the court of law. Now, he denied using any bigoted language, but if they say that's what they heard, then that's what they heard. Sibley then confronted Popov again, lunging around a man who tried to step between the pair. Popov testified that Sibley chased him and punched him in the head. The security camera video didn't show the fatal blow, but Popov testified that he stabbed Sibley with a 5.5-inch blade as he tried to protect himself. He said, I was scared that I was going to get hurt. Well, what'd you expect? I'm not saying I agree with what was going on, but when you run around saying stuff to people where black gay men have to deal with taunting and discrimination their whole life, how would you expect that you were just going to say what you was going to say to somebody and they weren't going to want to whoop your ass? So it's okay for you to, and I'm not justifying the behavior, but I'm just saying that I understand the situation of what happened, and you never know who you rolling up on when y'all start coming out with that discrimination and saying certain things to people. You don't know what people are dealing with in their life when y'all be running around here thinking y'all gonna just call people all kinds of rhymes with maggots and the N-word and all the other stuff when you're not black and you're a homophobe. So when you start using that stuff, you don't never know what somebody's going through at that time. So that's all I'm saying on that. And when people are constantly picked on and discriminated against and they're dealing with all their own little traumas, they're not thinking clearly. So Sibley, they said, performed with the Philadelphia-based dance company Philadanco and took classes with the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater's Alvin Extension program in New York. He also used dance to celebrate his LGBTQ plus identity in works such as Soft, A Love Letter to Black Queer Men, choreographed by Kamar Jewell. Now, Sibley's funeral in his hometown of Philly attracted about 200 people. Politicians and celebrities, including Beyonce and Spike Lee, paid tribute in social media posts. Now, Popov was born in, like I said, he was Russian. They said Popov was born in the U.S. to a family of Russian origin and was a high school senior at the time of his arrest. So shout out to us, AP News for this story. And you know what? I'm glad that O'Shea finally got some justice. And we'll revisit this story at the end of the month when Mr. Popov, because he did pop off, and that's why his ass is locked up. It's funny how your last name is fitting for where you're currently at. And we will revisit this story when, excuse me, when we get close to his sentencing date, which is in a couple of weeks, because today is the 9th of June. He's being sentenced on the 30th. So we'll revisit the story once we get to the end of the month. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story? It was like, yeah, I remember we was talking about O'Shea Sibley. Remember I talked about it on the show. Now I had to give y'all the update because I ain't hear nobody else talking about it. So, we talk homosexual news over here on this show. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below.